Hi, everybody. We're here once again talking with Baptiste Brossard-Kimmel, Managing Director of Effigy Consulting. And today we're talking about the DHL Group Q2 and half-year results, which were released this week. Baptiste, so what are some of your key takeaways on the DHL results, the main highlights, let's say?
Yes. Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. Glad to talk about the DHL Q2 results. So if we look at the result at the group level, and the Q2 result is a definitely strong result. However, let maybe start with one thing and recall everyone that we compare this quarter performance to the same second quarter in the last year. And last year, Q2 25, was the quarter where we saw the beginning of the US Trump tariff and the new trade policy. So last Q2 result was something like -4% in revenue for DHL. So here we see significant double-digit improvement in terms of revenue for the group. But we have to remember that last year Q2 was a very special quarter. So when we look at the Q2 26 right now, we are talking about double-digit growth in revenue, so 13% growth in revenue for the group, and 30% growth in terms of EBIT. So what does it mean? It means that the margin for the group increased pretty well, and it's now more than 8% in the Q2. How do we explain that, and how particularly the company explain that? There is three drivers for that. The first one is DHL Express, that is definitely the major contributor to the growth of the group. And DHL Express saw higher shipment weight. So that's something pretty interesting, and that they disclosed in the earning, with a kilogram per day that increased more than 9%. The second thing is somehow capacity constraint in the international air cargo, on which DHL Express has certainly benefited with some pricing power. The third thing, and the last one, as major key drivers, is the higher fuel cost that the company seems to have successfully rebalanced to the client, and so reinvoiced to the client.
Okay, Baptiste, you mentioned just now that there were disruptions last year with the US tariff policies. This year, of course, on July 1, we've got another big change here in Europe, which is the new customs duty on the low-value imports into the EU, which, as we all know, is targeted very much at the Chinese marketplaces. This is the policy of the European Commission to really try to drive down those volumes. So this is a big issue for the whole industry. How is it showing up so far at, let's say, at DHL?
Yes, no, I think definitely it's something that is quite a major thing that in July. Just to remember to all our audience what is it about. So we're talking about two things, and the new EU customs policy. First, it's about the €3 custom duty per category of products. So it's not about a parcel, it's not about item, it's about a category of product we're talking about. And the second thing is about the end of the €150 de minimis. It was interesting to see that DHL clearly mentioned that new regulation in EU, and that they've seen definitely impact of that. And what they mentioned particularly is that they observed that a number of Asian exporters, so Asian shippers, were apparently unprepared for this new European regulation, and that at the end, DHL was obliged to resend back to China a significant number of parcels following the request of the custom authorities, so the EU custom authorities. So this is a visible impact of the new regulation that obliged DHL to change some of the process and to ship back some parcels. At the bottom line, the company mentioned that, yes, we're talking about a significant numbers of parcels, but at the bottom line, for now, it remains quite a low portion of the total volume that DHL is managing on the European level, and that they are quite positive regarding on the fact that this portion of parcels that are shipped back to China is lower than that they were expected at first.
Yeah. Obviously, DHL, particularly DHL parcel business in Germany, it's the core market, it's the home market, let's say, at DHL. Of course, they're also active in other European markets as well. So how about the performance of DHL in the German parcels market? What are the trends there?
Yes, so DHL is by far the leader in its home parcel market, and in Germany the volume growth was pretty flattish. We were talking about 1.6% growth in volume. So we consider that that is 1.6% is under the market average for Germany. So probably and certainly DHL parcel lost market share in terms of volume in Germany. And on the other side, we are observing a revenue growth of 5.3%. So a significant average revenue per piece increase in Germany. So what do we have to understand about that? Is that probably DHL parcel lost market share in Germany of low margin segment, meaning that they underperform the market in terms of volume, but they significantly increased the revenue per piece. And this was definitely a contributor to the margin increase of the group.
Right. If we think about the other European markets, the other European parcel markets, these are bundled in the DHL e-commerce division, which is also active outside Europe as well. There, the results are perhaps a little bit difficult to read because of the acquisitions, or rather the transitions and transactions in the UK and in Iberia. So how do you interpret the DHL e-commerce results for Q2?
Yes, so DHL e-commerce, if we look at it at first sight, we are talking about a -4% fall. But definitely, we have to consider what was happening with EVA in the UK and CTT in Portugal and Spain. So if we exclude these two deals, the entity achieved an organic growth of more than 9%, 9.5% organic growth. And the main reason given by the group for this revenue growth, it's about volume growth. So definitely DHL e-commerce, if we don't consider these two deals, was growing and was certainly growing more than the market share in their market.
Right. So overall, it seems to be quite a positive picture for the DHL group, let's say, with different performances of some of the divisions. So if you can take a little look at let's say, the outlook for DHL group for this year, how would you see their perspectives for the rest of this year?
Yes, so talking about the perspective, I mean, the group was at some point pretty conservative about the outlook, and if we compare the result of this Q2, double digit at some point on revenue, on EBIT growth, the outlook for the rest of the years was pretty more conservative. And I think the way we have to understand this is that, yes, the revenue increased quite significantly and the EBIT as well, but it's mainly driven by the three things we mentioned at the very beginning of this call. The first one is about, and one of them was about the fuel cost reinvoice to client. Okay, fine, but it doesn't mean the group is performing that much. It's just a conjuncture effect that is successfully rebalanced to the client. The second is about capacity constraint. Okay, the group is taking advantage of capacity constraint in the international air cargo, but what about the future? We don't know, honestly, and it's also at some point impacted by the situation on the Middle East, and for now nobody knows. The only thing that could be sustainable on the long run is the higher shipment weight. If this is something that we keep as a trend and a sustainable trend, that could definitely continue to increase the performance of the group. Yeah.
Good. Great, Baptiste. Well, thanks very much for those insights. As we'll all monitor and observe and see how DHL performs in the coming quarters in the second half of this year. But thanks very much for those insights, and it's been a pleasure once again speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.